All right, here we go. So, as promised, we're going to uh, work on our tic tac toe. Uh, Pause for station identification. What we have so far, you can click on a square and we get an X. Now, we haven't been able to change the player yet. The current player will get there. But right now, you should have where you can click on the X's and everything is displayed. I'm going to open up my console because I still need that. Okay. So working so far. I'm going to comment out this console that I have here on line 83, this console.log, this game state. And I would like to apologize um, on behalf of YouTube, I guess. If the video was showing up blurry, I don't understand what's going on with that, why it would do that. Maybe there's a lag in the internet or something. I don't know. Um, Anyways, where we are now is we want to handle our result validation. So, in other words, what this is going to do, this is going to test to see if the game has been completed. So, it's going to handle that um, every single time that a piece is played. Okay. So, in other words, you know, the X player will make a play, and then we're going to run result validation to check and see if the game is over. And if not, we'll continue to play. Okay. So that's what we're going to do right here. So here's result validation. I'm going to make a method called result validation. And this is not going to take in any arguments right here. What we're going to do in here is we're going to set a variable. I'm going to call it game one, WON1, and set that to false. In other words, we're going to be asking, you know, has the game been won? It's either going to be true or false. Okay. And now we got that, what we're going to do is we're going to do this for loop, and I'm going to write it out first and then explain what this does, because as I write it out, and every single time I do this, when I write it out, like the thoughts come together. But here we go. We're going to say for let I get 0. I is less than or equal to 7. I plus plus. And we're going to say const win is going to get this dot winning conditions, excuse me, I. Okay. So this is going to allow us to loop through the winning conditions. Remember, we have up here, we have 8 winning conditions. Okay. In our array, this dot winning conditions. That's going across horizontally, going vertical, and then the 2 diagonals. So it's 8 winning conditions. So we're going to say a win is when any one of those winning conditions, we're going to loop through it and check for any one of those winning conditions. All right. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set let A get this dot game state. We're going to pass in win 0. And then let B get this dot game state, pass in win 1, and then let C get this dot game, not game state win 2. All right. So we're going to take this game state, which again is our game board, if you will, the empty strings. Okay. It's the empty strings, and here's our winning conditions. What we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, if we'll win, let's say win is 0, 1, 2. Okay. So if win is 0, 1, 2, we're going to say let game state get a, this game state is empty string, so 0, 1, 2. So it's going to look over here and say, hey, let me type this out because again, it helps me to think. If A is equal to an empty string, meaning that there's an empty string somewhere. So if A is equal to an empty string, or B is equal to an empty string, or C is equal to an empty string. So if A is equal to an empty string, or B is equal to an empty string, or C is equal to an empty string, these values right here, then we shall continue. 1 second. Okay. So in other words, we'll keep playing if these win conditions haven't been met. Okay, and then I'll say if A is equal to B and B is equal to C, meaning that X, if A is X, B is X, and C is X, then we won. So we could say game 1, we set that to true, and then we will break. So get out of there. So it's going to loop through each time and check to see, hey, if A, B, or C, so like 0, 1, 2, okay, we're going to check and see, we're going to look through the win conditions. The win conditions are 0, 1, 2, so 0, 1, 2. We're going to look through here and say, hey, is there an empty string? Or is there an empty string here? Is there an empty string here? Empty string here. It's going to look through each one of those, say, hey, there's an empty string. If so, continue. But then it's going to look and say, hey, if A is equal to B is equal to C, in other words, if O, 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 well, then we have a win. And when we have a win, we will set game 1 to be true and then break out of the loop. So that's what we're going to do right here. All right. So I'm going to come outside of the for loop. Make sure you're outside of the for loop. So I got my curly brace right here. I'm going to be outside of that curly brace. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, if the game has been won, we got more stuff to do. Okay. And we got to set all this stuff up. Okay. Because we got quite a bit. We got quite a bit we need to do. All right. And I want to make sure we have everything set up correctly. Give me 1 second. Let me look over this. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. 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 All right. So yeah. So it if game 1, here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to set a method. Where are you? I'm looking at my notes. Ah, there you are. I'm gonna come back here to this result validation. Okay. I want to, before we come here and handle if the game is won, I want to handle um what we do with the current player, so we can toggle between the X and the O. And then I want to handle um sending a message out letting you know, hey, whose turn it is to play. And then I want to handle what to do it's a if it's a draw. Okay. So let's do that. Let's handle the player change first. Okay. And so I'm going to put that above, let's see, a handle cell played. Let's go to player change right here. All right. And let me see. Let me look at this real quick. Ah, yeah. Okay. So here we go. Player change. We're going to say player change. And what we're going to do is we're going to run this ternary here. So we're going to say, hey, this dot current player, which we have, and we're going to set that to this ternary. We're going to say, hey, this dot current player, is it equal to X? And make sure you have a capital X like so, unless you're dealing with just lowercase. I'm saying, hey, is it X? Then current player is going to be O, else it's going to be X. So in other words, we're going to take this dot current player, okay? What this method does is it says, hey, is the current player X? If it is, well, then we're going to change it to O. Else, in other words, it's O, we're going to change it to X. So it's not just going to be swapping just, randomly on its own. We're going to do, it's going to happen again because the method when we call it and tell it to be ran. Okay. And then what we're going to do after that is we're going to run a method here called this dot current player turn. Okay. And I'm just going to comment it out right now until I write out this dot current player turn. Well, yeah, until I write out current player turn. So that's what we have here. And again, like I said, pause the video anytime if you need to get what I got. All right. Now handling the current player turn. I'm gonna write that up here. So this is, let's see, 1, let's see, 2 initializer, 3 was handle cell, 4 was handle cell played, 5 was result validation. I'm gonna call this like 5A, and this is gonna be 5B. Current player turn. And all this is doing is just sending out a message saying, hey, it's this player's turn. Okay. So current player turn. Okay. There's a method. And we're going to create a message here. We're going to say const message. It's going to get, I use backticks. It's open curly braces, this dot current player, apostrophe S, turn. There we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to return this dot game status, which we haven't seen just yet, haven't popped up yet, dot enter text to get message. All right. And this dot game status, that is, if you go and look at your HTML, where are you? This dot game status. You are, where'd I put you? Here it is, right up here. So it's a p tag, a p element up here, right below the h1. So it's going to display right here saying whose turn it is. Okay. That's what's going to happen when we run it. Okay. So this method here, current player turn, this is being handled, or is going to be ran inside of player change. So right here we have player change, current player turn. Let's add that in there. Now it's not going to run yet because we're not running player change yet. We're going to get to that. Okay. But I wanted to set that up first. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to create I want to do two more methods real quick that we're going to need before we complete this. I think it's two. I want to handle a winning message to say, hey, who won? And then also a draw message. Okay. So let's create a method. And these are just messages. That's all they're doing. Just like the current player turn, we're just sending a message out. So right here, this is going to go below result validation because again, I like to have my methods in alphabetical order because they're easier to find. So I'm going to say const message. It's going to get, oh, I'm sorry. I need to write the method out, huh? The name of it. Winning message. All right, here we go. I'm going to say const message. It's going to get player, this dot current player, has won. Yay. And then we're just going to again return this dot game status dot enter text. It's going to get the message. All right. So that just like, or much like the one we just did, it's going to handle that. Just going to send a message out saying, hey, player X or player O has won the game. And we're going to return it as enter text. Okay. So again, that this dot game status, that element, that P element is going to receive that message. Okay. And what was the other one that I said we need to do? Check win count. Yeah, we need to check the win count. All right, and I'm going to set that up here. That's going to come up here. This is let's see, check win count. And what this does is basically counts the number of wins and losses. Well, not the number of wins. Okay. And what I did for this is I set it to where well, what I did was I set it to where there's a total number of wins you get. Like you can play up to like till somebody wins 3 matches or whatever. I added a little GIF here in this one. I'm not going to worry about it right here, but let's get to it. We're going to say check win count. And I'm going to say let X win total get this dot win count dot X. And then let O win total get this dot win count dot O. And we're going to say here, if X win total is equal to 3, what am I doing? Oh, this if needs to be on the outside of that. There we go. If X win total is equal to 3, then I'm going to say, hey, this dot game status dot inner text is going to get it's going to get backtick $ curly brace. This dot player 1 is the supreme victor. And then what I'm going to do is, well, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. And here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a comment right here. So I'm going to run a method that we haven't built yet called this dot game reload. And what I want this to do, if this works, is once you get to 3 wins, then what should happen is it clears out the board, starts everything back over from scratch. All right, that's the idea. Give me 1 second. All right, and so then we want to say else if O win total is equal to 3. And I don't know why I did it this way. Now I'm looking at it. I think I may want to change it. But same thing. I'm just going to copy this. And paste it. All right. And then what I like to do. Okay, now that I got that, I think we're ready to come back over here to oh, there's one more. What do we do for draw? Because we got if there's a win, we have a winning message, but we don't have a draw message. Okay, so let's do that. Yeah, let's do that one. So I'm gonna put that right here. Draw message. It's gonna be the same thing. Const message. It's gonna get game ended in a draw. And then return this dot game status dot inner text message. So we got draw message, we got the current player turn message, we got the winning message, We got the check win total. Okay, so it looks like we're ready to finish result validation now. Okay, so yeah, go back if you need to. Again, go back, pause the video, check what you have compared to mine, and then we'll keep this thing rolling. All right. So here we go. Back to result validation. Now we can handle what to do if the game has been won. If the game has been won, what we're going to do is we're going to say, I'm going to start off, I'm going to create this thing here, const tally mark, and this is going to be like the little X that's going to show up in the box in these boxes here, just a little tally mark to say, hey, a player's won or not. Okay, so const tally mark is going to get, just make a little X. You can do whatever you want. Matter of fact, in the spirit of Robin, let's add an emoji here. Let me see. Which one do I really like? Tis the season. And a little jack-o'-lantern right there. So there's a tally mark, okay? And now we're gonna say we're gonna send this dot winning message. Not winning conditions, winning. So in other words, if the game is won, we're creating a tally mark. We're gonna run this dot winning message, which says, hey, player X or O has won. And then we're gonna create this container const winner is gonna get this dot current player. So when hey, who's the winner? It's gonna be this dot current player. Okay, we're gonna do that in there. All right. Now, still inside of this if statement. Okay. So if the game is won, create the tally mark. This dot winning message. We're gonna run that and then set the winner to whoever this dot current player is. Now we're going to say, hey, if the winner is equal to X, meaning X is 1, then this dot win count dot X is going to get this dot win count dot X plus 1. We're going to basically do augmented addition here. And say this dot win count X plus 1. So you can write it like this if you want to, or you can say this dot win count plus equals. Okay, so either which one you feel comfortable with. I'm going to leave it like the old way for this one, just so you can see what it looks like. Oh, shoot. Here we go. This dot win count dot X gets this dot win count dot X plus 1. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say this dot X wins dot enter HTML. I'm going to go briefly over this. Plus equals, so we're going to add do some augmented addition here, and I'm going to say this is going to be backticks, and I'm going to make a span element, give it the class tally, okay, and then inside of it I'm going to place the tally mark in there, and then we need to make sure that we close the span element. All right, so let me come in a little bit so you can see what this will look like. Basically what we're doing, this inner HTML property, what this does is it takes an HTML element, say a container like a div, which is what I believe X wins. Where are you? If I go to the HTML, yeah, X wins. It's a div, so it's going to take that div and it's going to inject HTML code inside the div, make it a child of that div element. And what we're going to add inside that div element is a span that will contain the tally mark, the little pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern in there. Okay. So if the winner is equal to X, then um, this dot win count, we're going to add 1 to it, store back in this dot win count, and then we're going to add the tally mark. Okay. Else, meaning that the winner is O, this dot win count dot O, and here I'll do the augment addition. Okay. This is this line is doing the exact same thing that this line is doing. Okay. I just want you to see it in two different ways. Then we'll say this dot O wins dot enter HTML. And basically the same thing. So I'm just going to copy this span right here and paste it. All right. And then what we'll do is we're going to check the win count. So check win count right there, which we've already written. And I'm going to set this dot game active to false. And then we're going to return. And we're still inside of the result validation method. Okay. We got two more things we're going to do. Inside of here, we're going to add something else to handle what to do if there's a draw. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to say, hey, const round draw is, what do I need to do? How will I know it's a draw? I'll know that it's a draw if there are no more empty strings and none of the win conditions have been met. Okay, so I'm going to say const round draw is going to get not this dot game state dot includes empty string. So it means game state doesn't have any empty strings anywhere in it. Okay, meaning so no winning conditions have been met. Okay, game one has not been set to true, but there are no empty strings in game state. Okay, then I can say, hey, if round draw, because this is going to return true or false. That's why this bang is here. So basically what we're saying, hey, does game state include, well, game state includes an empty string. That's going to be true or false. Either game state does include an empty string or does not. Again, coming back up here, game state. Right now we have 9 empty strings. So either game state includes an empty string or it doesn't. And so round draw, again, this is just saying the opposite of that. So in other words, currently, the current game state with nothing on the board, game state includes empty string. That is true, which means round draw is false. Loopy. All right, so if round draw, so if the game is draw, then we'll say this dot draw message. We'll send that out. We'll also set the game active to false. And then we will return. All right. Whew. And now, outside of that if statement, the last thing we're going to do inside result validation is this dot player change. So this is where we run this dot player change. So right now, I think what we can do is we can add this stuff to our initializer. Okay. So let's do that. Let's go back to init. Where are you, init? Did I pass you? I did. All right. So we want to, before we run handle cell clicked, we're going to handle this dot current player turn. And when you run this dot current player turn, you can look here and see, hey, it's X's turn. So that message pops up. Cool. Okay. So that's cool. And now we need to run this dot, well, we need to run result validation. Okay. And result validation is being, that is going to be handled inside of handle cell clicked. Okay. Because we want that to run every time we click a cell. Okay. So we have handle cell played. So we play it. And then after it's played, we want to run this dot result validation. So when you add that there, let's see what we're looking like. Okay, it's X's turn. Click. And now it says it's O's turn. Oh, click. Now it's X's turn. Now it's O's turn. X's turn. I click. And there goes my pumpkin. Player X is 1. Hey, you got a first pass at Tic Tac Toe if you got that working. Yay. Clap your hands. Now, right now, my restart game button doesn't work. My submit players. Oh, that does work. Okay. Oh, no, that does something completely different. But here we go. X, O, X, O. Okay. Player O is 1. Cool. Let me refresh. And let me see what happens if I get a draw. Oh, that's a win. I beat myself. Phrasing. Two, X, O, X. There we go. Game ended in a draw. Okay, so there's all of my different conditions. I got where X wins, I got it where O wins, and I have a draw. So cool. So let's do this now. Let's take care of the player names, okay? Because what I want to add to this is where the players' names can be added here on each box, so you know who's playing the game. Okay, so let's start that off. We have this dot player 1 and this dot player 2, where we got those elements from our HTML. They're located, let's see, where are you? Oh, there's the IDs of H2 for player 1 and H2 for player 2. Okay, so we got access to that. Let's get the player names. All right. So let's add that. Let me find you. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna write a method called get player names. That's gonna go right here. So that was all of result validation, that stuff. So this is 6. Get player names. All right. And so what we're going to need to do is we're going to get access to this submit button right here, because this is going to uh when we click that button, is going to get the names of the players. Okay. So get player names right there, right there. I'm going to say const submit button is going to get this dot submit button. That way I just wanted to keep writing this dot whatever. I'll say const player one is this dot player one, and const player two is this dot player two. Okay, just because I don't want to keep writing this dot whatever. All right. So now let me get this submit button and add an event listener to it. So submit btn.add event listener. And remember, this add event listener method it is a method that is attached to a DOM element, and it has two arguments. The first argument is an event, and the second argument is a callback function. Okay, what it is we want to do when you click on this button or hover over this element or press a key, so on and so forth. All right, submit button, add event listener. The event again is going to be a click, because what happens when we click on the button? In this, we're going to need to pass in the event as an argument, okay, for our callback function here. And what do we want it to do? First thing, we're going to prevent default. And what this does, this prevents the screen from reloading back to its default state. Okay. What happens on the browser is when there is an event that occurs, once that event happens, then the browser is just going to immediately go back to the state that it was in before the event occurred. So what would happen, in other words, is, and I don't want to do a demo of it, if I were to press the button without preventing the default, whatever action would need to occur, it would do that, and then the screen would be wiped back to whatever state it was in at the default. Okay, so what this does, this prevent default does, is it says, okay, the event occurs, but I'm going to keep whatever the current state is, I'm going to keep it there and not change it back to the state that it was in before. All right. Okay, so here we go. Prevent. Here we're going to say const player two name is going to get document dot get element by ID. Excuse me. Player one dot value. You gotta be careful with this. Sometimes Visual Studio Code wants to do some strange stuff. Const player one name, same thing. Documents that get element by ID. I need to change that up because that's player two. I don't know why I have it like that, but whatever. Player one dot value. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, this dot players dot player one is going to get player one name, and this dot players player two is going to get player two name. I'm gonna explain what this is doing in just a second. And then player one dot inner text is going to get this dot players dot player one, and then player two dot inner text is going to get this dot players player two. Okay, so what's happening here? All right, when I click a button, I'm going to say e.prevent default. And then I'm going to say const player two name is going to get document that get element by ID player two value. What is that? Well, let's come over here and look in our HTML. And here we have a form here. And we have an input for player one. And we have an input for player two. So whatever that player types in, we're going to take that and store it into this container called player two name and player one name. And then once we have that, we're going to take player two name and store that in our object that we have. Where are you? Here, right here, this dot players, player one and player two. And then we're going to change the inner text to be whatever's in this dot players one, this dot players two. Why do you do it that way? I do it that way so that way we won't have to, each time you play the game, you don't have to put a new name in the, you don't have to enter a new name for each player. That information gets stored inside of the object and it can track who is winning. Now, there's no database or anything like that, not sending this to a server. So it's not like you can keep these players for, you know, you can't save the players like we were able to do on a video game. Now, I remember playing the first Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, and you couldn't save where you were. So a lot of times, you know, if I get up in the mornings and I play, and maybe I get to like the fourth world, and my mom would call me. It was time for breakfast. So I got to clean up the room or do dishes or something. And I had to, I just paused the game and I couldn't like save where I was. So I just had to leave the game on, turn the TV off, and then go do whatever it is I need to do so I can come back to my game because I couldn't save it back then. You just had to play until the game was over. You win or you lose. But yeah, that was fun times. All right, so yeah, okay, all right, let's do this. So now we got that. That's completed. We can run this method inside of init. Okay, so let's come over here to init. And the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to say, hey, this dot player one dot inner text is going to get this dot players dot player one. And then I'm going to say this dot player two text, this dot player two dot inner text, excuse me, is going to get this dot players player two. And when you do that, you should see here we got player one and we got player two. We see that shows up. Cool. All right. And now what we want to do is we're going to add this dot get player names. We're going to run that right there. So now player 1. Oh yeah, and it only takes 3 letters. That's right. I did set that up to where the max length is 3. So you can't just be typing in all kinds of stuff. Kind of take it back to old school arcade games where you put your initials in. So say, for Satch and, XYZ. And when I click submit players, they can see it changes the text. Cool. All right. So we got that done. So we need to handle next this game restart button, because right now, so that button works. We can, play the game. Oh, I should have. Oh, there we go. And so there, player X is 1. There's the tally mark. But now this restart button, that doesn't work. So we need to get our restart button working. All right. So we got a couple things we got to do. We got to so we want to restart the game. In other words, we want to clear the board out. Okay. Each time that we do that, each time we click the button, we want to clear it. We want to clear out this board. Okay. So let's do that. Let's go to restart game. I guess this would be 7. All right, and let's get that going. Restart game. It's good we already have a first pass going, though. That works. But now we're just adding some stuff to it. Make the game a little more user-friendly. We're going to set game active back to true, because, again, game active was set to false. And when game active is false, you can't click on anything on any of the boxes. So we're setting game active back to true. Setting this current player back to X. Now, if you want to, you can set this current player to whoever won. Okay, that's an option that you have if you want to do that. But right now, we're just set this current player back to X. And then we're going to set this game state back to that empty, with that array of empty strings. So what you would do if you want the winner to go first, then what you could do is you could say, hey, this winner, where we have the const winner, this player, maybe this could be a global variable, if you will. So back up here in the constructor, this winner. Okay. And then whoever this winner is, they would be the first to play on restart game, if you want to do that. Yep. All right. So there's restart game. There's the game state. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to run this current player turn. So we got to send that message saying, hey, whose turn it is to play. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove all the boxes, well, all the X's and O's. So we're going to clear out the board. Okay, so we set our game state clear. Now we got to clear the board out. So we're going to say document.query selector all. Get each cell. And then for each cell, we're going to take the inner text and set that back to an empty string. Okay. And then what I need to do is I'm going to say cell.classList.remove blue. So basically what this does is clears out the board, and the class list, I'm removing that color blue from it. So that way when the X player plays, it's red. Okay, so there's our restart game function, and we need to add that to the button, to the restart game button. And we're going to do that inside of init. So here's init. And I don't know why I put extra space, I just did. But here we're going to say this.game restart button. Get access to that. Add an event listener to it. And again, the event is click. And what do we want to do? We want to this.restart game. All right. And once you have this right here, then test it out. And it should work whether the game is a draw or not. So, okay. O wins, restart game. It clears the board out, says X's turn. And now you see we got 2 tally marks right there for O. Cool. Restart game. I'm going to let O win again. And, oh, I got player 1 as the supreme victor, but that's not true because player 2 is a supreme victor. So I need to check my code and see why that is. Because I got this.players.player 1, so that should be player 2. Cool. So there it is. It handled that. Now, like, again, I had in there where when that happened, I changed the background to like some confetti falling, and some other stuff. But this is a game. I think what I did not add to this is the game reload. I think it's the only thing I didn't add. Let me see. And I said we would do that, I believe. Or maybe not. Okay. No. We're good. Oh, no, there it is right there. This game reload. Okay. And I couldn't remember if this worked or not. Okay, but what this should do, this should reload the game. So in other words, what I wanted it to do is once you get to 3 wins, then clear everything out. So restart the game. I wanted to set the wins back to 0. I wanted to remove the game status, clear everything out. Okay. And I'm going to do that now. And this will be the end of the game right here. Game reload. Well, as far as I got, if you want to add some more stuff to it, which I believe you're capable of doing, you can. All right. So I'm going to say, hey, set timeout. And we're going to run this function inside of set timeout. Well, what is it going to do? The first thing we're going to do is run this.restart game. Okay. And then I'm going to say this.x wins .enter HTML. I'm going to clear that out. So back to an empty string. well, not an empty string, but just remove all the spans out. It should do it. owins.enter HTML. I think it should. Same thing for that. This dot player one dot enter text is going to go back to player one. This dot player two dot enter text is going to sit back to player two. This dot win count dot x, setting that to 0. This dot win count O, setting that to 0, and then this dot game status dot enter text, setting that to an empty string, and I want that to happen in 3 seconds. So this is game reload right here. And let's see, where did I run that? Right here in this dot game reload. So that is happening on there. Matter of fact, yeah. I want it to happen once we get to 3 wins. All right, it should run this dot game reload. And then you see that's happening if X win total is equal to 3 or if the O win total is equal to 3. Okay. And so now I'm going to check and I'm going to get X to win 1. Okay, cool. 2, 3. Supreme victor, 3 seconds, and board is cleared out. Woo! All right. There is Tic Tac Toe. And if you followed along with me and my meandering and everything, you got this working, you've got yourself a game. Okay. And there's more stuff that you can add to it if you want to. And I encourage you to do that. Maybe instead of X's and O's, maybe you want to play with emojis. Maybe, there's, change the background color. If you want to add, again, a GIF or something to display, or change the background when you have a supreme victor. There's a lot of different stuff that you could do with this. So, have at it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it so much that you would, subscribe to the account and like and share, comment on it and all that stuff. And yeah, that's it. I wanted to do a little game so you could see how to think through problems, how to take something, a game that we've all played, tic-tac-toe, how to take it and break it up into very little, small, tiny pieces and build something and build it. Because you can do it and, go back and do it again, rename some of the variables if you want to, refactor the code, do all kinds of stuff to it to make it yours. As I stated in the last video, I got the tutorial from somewhere online. I want to say it was online. It was a combination of an online source and like a programming book on like building JavaScript games. And so I took them and combined them to make, a game. And then after that, I added a whole bunch of stuff to it again to make it to where like this is my own game that I built personally. Okay. So I encourage you to do the same thing. Take the code that we did together in this video, these last two videos, and then tweak it a little bit, add some stuff to it to make it your own unique game. All right. Yeah, that's that on that. I guess I'll see you on the other side of this video.